Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:50 p.m. I'm Pete Motzley with your news here on 89X. The United States has announced Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 4 other September 11 conspirators will be tried in a military court at Guantanamo Bay instead of a U.S. civilian court. Attorney General Eric Holder at a news conference told reporters at a news conference that the decision was necessary because Congress was imposing, quote, unwise and unwarranted restrictions which blocked the Obama administration from bringing any Guantanamo detainees to trial in the United States. Lawmakers are praising the decision. New York Senator Chuck Schumer called the move, quote, the final nail in the coffin of that wrong-headed idea, close quote. President Obama's 2012 re-election campaign has officially begun. Obama made the declaration today via email and online video, saying he is setting a plan to eclipse $1 billion in campaign contributions just in time for November of next year. In his email, the president told supporters that lasting change wouldn't come quick and easy, but the time has arrived to start mobilizing for the upcoming presidential race. Recent poll numbers by Quinnipiac have shown that if the elections were held, 50% say they will not vote for Obama to have a second term in the White House. Meanwhile, back in the White House, President Obama is inviting key Republican and Democratic lawmakers for talks with the hopes of getting a budget in place before a government shutdown occurs this weekend. House Speaker John Boehner and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid were invited by the White House for a session tomorrow. A spokesman for the president says time is running out and an agreement needs to be in the works. However, Speaker Boehner says disagreements are still visible about how much spending to cut, saying $33 billion isn't enough. He has also accused the White House of bringing in smoke and mirrors type budget cuts. A CBS television executive told the Associated Press that CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric will be leaving the nightly program, less than 5 years after she became the first woman to anchor a network TV newscast. Kirk's contract expires in June, but CBS News spokeswoman Sonia McNair says to the AP there are ongoing discussions in the works. The 54-year-old anchor is expected to launch a syndicated talk show next year. Massachusetts could soon have its first openly gay Supreme Court justice. State Governor Devil Patrick has nominated 60-year-old Barbara Lenk, a native of Queens, New York. Lenk has been both a judge in the Superior Court and Appeals Court. She received a law degree from nearby Harvard University, as well as a Ph.D. in political philosophy from Yale. Sports and weather are next. 89X News Time, 3:52.
All right, listen up, maggots, because I got something to say that you need to hear. It's for every man 18 through 25. You want to live in my United States? Then you've got to register with Selective Service. Fact is, you must register before you can qualify for student loans, most federal jobs, or job training. So go online at sss.gov or go to any post office. Wait a minute, you did it already? Outstanding! You've earned my respect. Hoorah!
In A9X Sports, Houston will let the dogs out tonight as Butler and Connecticut play for the national championship in Division I NCAA men's basketball. The Huskies and the Bulldogs tip-off time from Reliance Stadium is around 8:20 p.m. There are no games on the NBA schedule for this evening. Right now in the Eastern Conference, the Bulls own a 2.5-game lead over the Miami Heat. Tomorrow night, the Bulls face the Phoenix Suns at home in the United Center. Meanwhile, in baseball, the Cubs open a 3-game series with the Diamondbacks. Game 1 is currently going on, with the Cubs leading 2-1 in the top of the 8th inning. The Cardinals are at home tonight, starting a 3-game set with the Pirates. 89X weather for Lincoln and Logan County. This late afternoon, scattered showers, otherwise cloudy, high near 48. Tonight, scattered showers before 7 p.m., then turning to mostly cloudy, then becoming mostly clear. Otherwise blustery, winds to gusts to 20 miles per hour, low around 31. And tomorrow, mostly sunny, high near 56. Currently at the station, 44 degrees, and I'm Pete Motzley with news on 89X. Good morning, everyone. Pete Motzley, the humble news director here in Lincoln's Rock Alternative 89X. It is 7:20 in the morning, and these are your morning headlines. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi is asking for President Obama to end airstrikes over Libya. In a 3-page letter sent to the White House, Gaddafi wrote for Obama to stop the NATO-led insurgents that is currently striking down on pro-government forces in an effort to control attacks on Libyan citizens. Gaddafi says a democratic society could not be built by using missiles and aircraft, and that he is sure the president is able to, quote, shoulder the responsibility for NATO's involvement. Despite the positive language in the letter, top White House officials are shaking it off. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has repeated demands for the Libyan leader to step down and for pro-government forces to pull back. Spending talks yesterday between Republicans and Democrats were reported to be making little progress. The blame game is getting passed around. Speaker of the House John Boehner says President Obama is not taking leadership on this year's budget. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said Republicans rejected concessions made by Democrats. Democratic officials have suggested considering additional cuts to their budget proposal that have already totaled $33 billion in spending cuts. But outside the Capitol, demonstrators are crying out chants of "shut it down," saying a government shutdown is necessary to get bipartisan agreement on the national budget. 2 nuclear power plants in northern Illinois will be inspected for equipment issues. Routine checks in the Braidwood and Byron plants were made in February, and Exelon said backup pumps used to remove heat from the nuclear reactors would work in case of an accident. However, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission says after confirmation calculations were made, the pumps were deemed not operational. Another inspection will be made in the next 45 days to review further issues in the system, including a separate matter involving alarms in both plants' control rooms. Logan County voters voted yes to a 1% school sales tax. 60% of voters were in favor of the referendum, which will be used for school facility purposes. The tax would apply to items such as clothing and gasoline and would not apply to essential living expenses like food and medicine. A spokesperson for the tax told the Lincoln Courier the people of Lincoln will be pleased in the next 2 years with the improvements schools will receive. Logan County schools are estimated to receive $1.8 million from the tax. The first payments are due to come in April of next year. The Illinois House has passed a bill requiring persons convicted of first-degree murder to register in a public online database. This database will be similar to the one used for registered sex offenders. Names, addresses, and photos for offenders will be displayed for up to 10 years after a person is released from prison. The final vote tally was 97-1. Conservative commentator Glenn Beck is ending his Fox News talk show later this year. Mercury Radio Arts has announced they will stay in business with Fox to produce other projects, beginning with a series of documentaries Beck is planning. Beck has had decreasing ratings over the last year as a result of intense critical backlash and advertiser pullout. More than 400 companies have pulled commercials from his daily 5 p.m. program. However, Fox News CEO Roger Ailes felt Beck brought a unique perspective and passion to the channel. Sports and weather on Nets, 89 Nets News Time, 7:23.
You are a healthy eater. Oranges for vitamin C, flaxseed and mackerel for omega-3s. But did you know the same foods that are good for your body, i.e. not beef jerky, are also good for your eyes? Yep, research shows proper nutrition can impact the development of cataracts and age-related macular degeneration, 2 leading causes of blindness. So keep up the healthy munching, my well-fed friend. And for more easy ways to keep keeping your eyes healthy, see your optometrist or visit AOA.org.
In 89 at Sports, the White Sox and the Royals went to 12 innings again. This time it was the Sox who survived 10-7. Carlos Quentin went 4 for 6 with a solo home run in the 8th inning and 2 key base hits in the 9th and 12th. The Sox returned home to face Tampa Bay at 1:10 today. Elsewhere, the Cubs lose to Arizona 6-4. Soriano and Ramirez both homered for the Cubs. The Cardinals lose to Pittsburgh 3-1. Jonathan Taze's 32nd goal of the season wrapped up an overtime win for the Blackhawks over the Blues. 4-3 is the final score. Tonight, the Bulls and Celtics go at it in the United Center. 89 Nets weather for Lincoln and Logan County today. A 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, high near 63. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely. Cloudy with a low around 54. East wind between 13 and 15 could gust to 21 miles per hour. Currently at the station, 37 degrees. And I'm Pete Motzley with news on 89 Nets. Good morning, everyone. It's 7:48 a.m., and I'm Pete Motzley with news on 89X. President Obama has rolled out his plan for reducing the national deficit. His proposal includes about $4 trillion in spending cuts, $1 trillion of that coming from tax increases. The Bush tax cuts would expire for the top 2% of Americans making $250,000 or more. An additional $1.1 trillion would also be cut from defense and non-security discretionary spending. In addition, the president says a debt failsafe will be permitted in 2014 should the deficit continue to grow worse, forcing across-the-board spending reductions except for cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and other low-income programs. $480 billion would be saved for Medicare and Medicaid to provide coverage to senior citizens and low-income families. The president's plan is drawing criticism from Republicans on the decision to raise taxes as part of the spending cut package. House Speaker John Boehner says Obama failed to match the GOP's plans for cutting spending, adding that Americans will not stand for more failed promises in Washington commissions that can't get the job done. President Obama is also calling for tax reform that will close loopholes that favor the top 2% of Americans, and is urging Congress to pass other tax changes, including a restriction on homeowners in all incomes. Former baseball slugger Barry Bonds is convicted on one count of obstruction of justice. A mistrial is declared for 3 other charges of perjury, when Bonds told prosecutors during the 2003 Balco investigation he did not knowingly take steroids or human growth hormone, nor is he injected by anyone except his doctors. The ruling states the government determined it was, quote, unlawful for Bonds to tell the grand jury he's a celebrity child and to talk about his friendship with his personal trainer Greg Anderson, close quote. The statement made by Bonds' defense team did not address performance-enhancing drugs. LCHS teacher Douglas Benz posted bond on Tuesday during a court hearing for his charges of criminal and aggravated criminal sexual assault. Benz had his bond reduced to $75,000, and his mother and stepfather offered $7,500. Plus, they agreed to allow Benz to live with them in her home in Clinton. His next court date is on May 12th for a pretrial hearing, and the case is expected to be heard the week of May 23rd. The Illinois House unanimously voted to reinforce oversight of group homes. In the legislation, any allegations of abuse would be reviewed by the state. New managers will be brought in to run unsafe homes, and employees of group homes will undergo occasional background checks. Inspection records and abuse reports will be made available to the public also. The measure was born from the death of Paul McCann, a 42-year-old man beaten to death by 2 employees at a Charleston group home in January. McCann had stolen food, which caused 2 of the workers to kick and punch him for 45 minutes. The State House has also passed a ban on the use of trans fats in restaurant foods and snacks served in school vending machines starting in 2013. If the bill passes in the Senate, Illinois will be the second state in the U.S. to ban trans fats, the only other state being California. Sports and weather on Nets, 89Nets News Time, 7:51.
Shh, listen. That's a bullfrog. What's that? A cicada. That's an owl. Wait, what's that?
Oh, the Camptown ladies sing this song. Doo-dah,
I think that's a donkey.
The swamp town mud hole stinks so strong. Oh, da doo da oh.
Shrek!
Hey, kids.
Hi.
That little cicada bug's got nothing on me, right?
Donkey, give the children a little space.
Oh, they got plenty of space, Shrek. Wide open forest space. Why you always telling me to calm down and be quiet? Give them space. Do I talk too much? I'm real good at being quiet. I'm quiet right there. Quiet again. Donkey quiet. Snail quiet. Turtle quiet.
Get out and explore nature. You never know what you might find. To learn more about all the fun stuff waiting for you outdoors, go to discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. This message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
So, kids, you know some consider slugs a delicacy.
Ew.
In 89 sports, the Chicago Bulls walk into the NBA playoffs with the best record in the league for the first time since 1998. As a matter of fact, it's the same record they finished with in 1998, 62-20. The Bulls defeated the Nets in the season finale 97-92. Kyle Korver had 19 points, 12 of those in the second half. Elsewhere, the Blackhawks began the defense of the Stanley Cup in Vancouver. The Hawks lost to the Canucks in Game 1 of the Western Conference quarterfinals 2-0. Game 2 is set for tomorrow night. In baseball, White Sox relief pitching blew a 3-run lead in the 9th inning, and in 10 innings, the Athletics beat the Sox 7-4. The Sox are 2-3 in extra inning games this year and 7-5 overall. The Cubs defeated the Astros 9-5. The Cardinals took care of the Diamondbacks 15-5. 89 Nets weather for Lincoln and Logan County. Today, partly sunny, high of 69. East winds 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts to around 25. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows to mid-40s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, highs around 70. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. After midnight, lows in the upper 40s. Currently, it's 48 degrees here at your station, and I'm Pete Motzley with news on 89X. What did we have there? We had Stellar by Incubus here at 89X. It's 7:51 a.m. I am Pete Motzley with your 89X morning headlines. President Obama continues his week-long countrywide tour today in an effort to advocate his $4 trillion deficit proposals. Yesterday in Virginia, the president continued to echo his belief that both Republicans and Democrats will reach a compromise on cutting the $14 trillion national debt, an issue that is continually gaining steam as next year's presidential elections head into full swing. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner told CNBC things are better than what people have been led to believe about America's long-term fiscal credit position, also calling S&P's negative outlook on the government, quote, politically tone-deaf, close quote. What isn't deaf is the recent 47% approval rating for President Obama, according to a new Washington Post poll. In the same Washington Post ABC News poll, most Americans are strongly against some of the major deficit proposals. 78% oppose any cuts to Medicare, and 69% oppose cuts to Medicaid, the government's insurance program for the poor. However, solid support is shown for one of the major proposals in President Obama's plan, raising taxes for the wealthy. 72% agree with the president on that issue, as do majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. Illinois will be paying pension without borrowing for the first time in 2 years. The General Assembly approved a $4.5 billion plan to pay into the various pension systems during the next fiscal year with their own cash. Last year, the state sold over $7 billion in bonds to cover this fiscal year's pension payment. A report from the University of Illinois' Institute of Government and Public Affairs says Illinois has $79 billion worth of unfunded liabilities for retired employees. With other estimates, the amount is $190 billion. Legislators are ready to decide how to spread the rest of the general revenue fund. A Decatur high school teacher and football coach was indicted by a grand jury yesterday morning on 10 counts of criminal sexual assault. 33-year-old David J. Hansen is currently serving in a Macon County jail for having sexual relations with a 17-year-old female student from Warrensburg Latham High School in Decatur. According to the grand jury indictment, on 10 different occasions between May and July of last year, Hansen had sexual relations with the unnamed student. Hansen is also charged with aggravated criminal sexual abuse against the same person. A new law in Oklahoma will now ban abortions for women who are pregnant past 20 weeks. The law is based on the belief that a fetus can feel pain at the 20-week mark. Oklahoma joins Nebraska, Idaho, and Kansas in states who ban late-term abortions. Another law signed yesterday will prevent health insurers from covering elective abortions. Insurance coverage will still be offered for elective abortions, but a separate premium must be paid to receive the supplemental coverage. Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin says both laws will expand protections for unborn children and ensure the state's citizens will not have to pay for procedures that are not part of their core values. Northern Illinois University has made a $50,000 profit for their victory in college football's Humanitarian Bowl back in December. NIU Athletic Director Jeff Compher told the Daily Chronicle he couldn't believe the profit after totaling all the expenses, saying the Huskies budgeted for a $250,000 loss. The profit will be placed in a general athletic account, giving the school a jump start towards another bowl trip this fall. Sports and weather on Nets 89 Nets News Times 7:55.
Winter brings snow and howling winds. Winter brings sleet and ice. In the Northwest, winter also brings heavy rains that melt snow and ice, overwhelm rivers, and oversaturate the ground. It all means that winter brings floods. Yes, flood risk can rise rapidly in the winter, as rapidly as an early spring thaw melts dense snowpack. So take steps now to protect your home and financial security by visiting www.floodsmart.gov today. Learn your personal risk for flooding. Call 1-888-724-6619 to learn more. That's 1-888-724-6619 or www.floodsmart.gov. Call or visit today. Brought to you by the National Flood Insurance Program.
In 89 at Sports, crucial playoff games this evening. For the Bulls, a win tonight over the Pacers in Indianapolis will put them up 3-0 in the NBA Eastern Conference quarterfinals. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. For the Blackhawks, a win tonight over the Canucks in Vancouver will extend their NHL Western Conference quarterfinal series to a Game 6 on Sunday night in Chicago. The Canucks lead the series 3-1. The puck drops at 9 p.m. Yesterday, the Cubs and Cardinals both played doubleheaders. The Cubs split their doubleheader with the Padres. They won Game 1 2-1 in 11 innings and lost Game 2 5-4. The Cardinals started their 3-game series against the Nationals with a pair of day-night games. St. Louis dropped Game 1 8-6 and came back to win Game 2 5-3. The White Sox lost the Rays 4-1. That's 7 straight losses for the Sox, and they hope to avoid being swept by Tampa Bay tonight. 89 Nets weather for Lincoln and Logan County. Today, partly sunny, high near 54. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms, low around 44. And tomorrow, occasional showers and thunderstorms, high near 65. Currently at your station, 30 degrees, and I'm Pete Moxley with news on 89 Nets.